Registration's already open today with Clerk here, so we should just join this meeting. Thanks everybody for attending. And apologies from Councillor Steve Wallace. I'd like to move the second, Mona and Tracy. In favour? Thank you very much. Public forum. Nobody here. Any items not notified, not on the agenda? No. Two. Any declarations of conflicts of interest?
I'll just, through you, Chief Kerry, I'll just record, I'll be asked questions about that report regarding that CEO, just indicating on the right higher.
That's all good, thanks, Sharon. Right, we have a move in a second to the confirmed minutes already sent out. Councillor Peter, Councillor Erina, all in favour? We'll take these minutes as read. Anything in those minutes be raised?
Sorry, I wasn't at that. I realised I wasn't at that meeting.
Oh,
I'll do it.
okay. Second, but thanks, Councillor Scott. Thanks so much, Erina. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll get on straight on to the reports, and we will start with the infrastructure management report. All yours, Hamish, thank you.
Thing to come up and start with the transportation side of the job.
Just get you to have a seat in the front, and Dan, put another seat around. Welcome, Dan Andrews.
Yeah. All right.
Afternoon, everyone.
Thanks.
So, just touching on just a summary for the Alliance update. So, as discussed in the last report, we had a number of audits that were undertaken in November. So we had the performance audit, which was using the new performance framework that we adopted at the start of financial last year. The financial audit and the asset management maturity assessment. So all those audits were carried out. We just haven't had the finalised reports yet. So we've got the performance audit draft that we just need to put our comments on, which will then be presented at the audit risk committee next in the new year, that along with the financial audit. But although we don't have the results, overall the audits went really well. There was a test with the new performance framework, and obviously the intention of that framework was to apply more stretch targets to the Alliance, which proved to have done. So that's in the right direction. There's still tweaks that we can make to that framework. So there's a few areas of improvement that have been mentioned before. So you'll see that when that comes through. No issues through the financial audit. Again, we'll get a report for that. And with the asset management maturity assessment, we're hoping to have the results from that by Christmas, although so we'll look at providing an update on that one in the year's meeting. But overall, that went really well. I believe that we improved from last year's scores, so it shows that we're in the right direction as well, which is good. Obviously, coming up to Christmas, being in the construction season, we are looking at trying to get through as much work as we can with the weather, but at the same time, just mindful of the fact that we're trying to get as much projects closed up for the Christmas break as we can. We'll have a small crew or skeleton crew working over the Christmas break to actually obviously safety concerns and things like that. So yeah, we'll have the crew on board for that. That's all I've got as far as a summary. I'll hand it over to Andrew to head on to it.
Well, so just a quick overview of the asset management space. So we're starting to advance the level of service discussion in regards to setting the differential service levels. That it's very early days in that process in terms of what that could look like. But essentially, over the last few months, we've reviewed the road hire categorisation of the network and just tidied that up because there was a bit of anomalies in there in terms of like roads that don't have huge vehicle counts were recorded as ones that had big vehicle counts for the district. So we've done a bit of tidying up that space, and now we're basically going through and drafting up some ideas of what a level of service in terms of carriageway widths and types of signage that are appropriate for different hierarchical levels of road. Given that our road is 72% of low volume and access roads, there'll be a distinct change in that because I suppose the guidance that's around on the NZTA and sort of broader other local authority spaces, they've got high levels of traffic on roads, so just trying to define that, what that looks like for us in the district. That also is the timeliness of that is good because we've also just finished the draft development of the engineering standards, which is aligning with the district plan review. It's something that the Tauranga District Council hasn't had in the past. So I believe I may have touched on that before, but I'll just probably just give you a quick synopsis of what we've done. That started under the previous land development engineer. It was the document that was being put together was a modified version of the Palmerston North Manawatu engineering standards, which are quite long-serving engineering standards. They've been around forever, and they've been sort of adapted and adjusted in accordance with the challenges that have seen faced on those networks. Given that Palmerston City Council is a city council, some of these standards are a little bit different from what that bespoke, I suppose, for the needs of the council. When we picked it up within the alliance, I suppose the three water stuff had been developed quite well because the person supporting that had a lot of experience within the three water space. The road side of things was a bit of a mishmash of various designs and drawings and bits and pieces. So we had a bit of a reset. We reviewed what had been done. We basically had a look at what was being developed, pulled a few examples of different engineering standards from around the country. And one thing we ended up settling on the Wairarapa District engineering standards, which have been recently updated. They've drafted their version in 2022. So they align with all the modern New Zealand standards for engineering for the road design bits and pieces, whereas the previous ones had bespoke ones. So given we were trying to move away from the bespokeness of the previous draft to more standardised, so it's between the different, referring to modern design standards, so NZTA design standards. So we pulled that together, we drafted it up, we had to rush that through the review through in about a month, but essentially it is largely the Wairarapa engineering standards with a twist for the Tauranga District, given like we don't have the hood aerodrome that we need to manage. So all bits out of that are not appropriate. We changed it from things like the Wellington water standards to the Horizons sort of things. But largely it is the same document that's been consulted on through a lot for the district. And timely given the conversations that are going through water space. But if you're interested in having a look at those documents, they are there for availability. We're just working through how we communicate them forward. But it's going to be a time for the district plan review essentially. Any questions on that before I
Can I just add that it's not officially part of the district plan review, so we're going to take the advantage of the fact that we're talking to the people that will be utilising it and engaging with them at the same time.
So it's documents that support district plan as well as
Support documents.
Thanks, Belinda. No questions on that. You just carry on then, thank you.
So the next part is we've gained the traction in the speed management space. So with the chatter around the, from the central government around the school speed zone of the spaces, we put our the implementation of the previously approved school speed zones on hold. And that was a good call because there has been some changes in that space in terms of what we're allowed to do. Essentially, Wilson has been working to review the previous plan versus what the new rules are, and has basically identified that a lot of the plans that we have to scale back in terms of the lengths of speed zones, in terms of rural areas are getting put into 6, rural settlement zones are getting put into 60 kilometres an hour, and then the 30k speed zone, that's been cut back to basically just need to focus on the small speed zone. Every speed zone needs to be variable now, as opposed to you're allowed to do permanent speed signs. Hamish attended the RCA forum the other week, and just a couple of notes here are largely in regards to what's reported back from that. So speed management plans are now optional for local and regional authorities. Horizons have circulated amongst their local authorities to get their view on whether they put their one on hold as well, which I believe that's the intent heading down. The future proposed speed changes basically become a lot more complicated with more work to justify them, and particularly around the cost versus benefit of those changes. The next point there is any roads that have been reverted, have been changed since 2020 need to revert back, and the process has to be rerun again to justify them. Particular notice there is, and it's still a point, we're anybody for confirmation of what that looks like on the Saddle Road, for example, that may have to revert back to 6 kilometres an hour, which from a safety point of view is a bit concerning, but that may change the dynamics of people, what happens in the future with that road. We have reached out to DTA just to get some understanding with what they're planning to do in that space, because technically it's our road, but it's managing it right now, so we're still waiting a bit of response from that. And speed slogan side of things is we are just reviewing what the original plans were, updated to reflect the new guidance around it, updating the costings associated with that. While there is reductions in the number of signage, specific signs going in, there are differences that the variable speed zones do cost more than what the standard 30 k's, for example. One positive thing on the back of that, though, is I had a call from our NZTA funding advisor during the week, and they had stated that they were opening up the funding, making it available for school speed zones, plus potentially some more low cost, low risk money, which right out that was information. Basically trying to get that ducks in a row before we go over the break, so we put the submission in. In terms of actual funding, we'll be talking with Raj about making sure that the funding we had for the NLTP and the long-term plan was just held there until we know this information. So we've just got to work through that process and make sure that we've got the funding available to see that, so we can plan. But essentially, the government is pushing that they need to be done by 2026. Apart from that, that's the management, network management space. Dan, is there anything from the delivery space? No questions?
Thanks, Chair Kerry. I've got a couple. So just in regards to the funding options opening up for the low cost, low risk, when I went to the Regional Transport Committee, there were 3 councils that have been given funding for low cost, low risk. Has any conversations on how that, or do we actually have to put that application in? Is that the fund that they would have been approved through?
So my understanding is the funding that was approved on the programs were projects that were in progress or committed works. So if they run the tenders, contracted out, and they were basically in line to start up, they got approval, whereas the ones that were presented were in planning phase for approval. So it was essentially a cell on the spreadsheet that it would change when we were in progress, like the school speed zones, we would have approved as part of it, but yeah, that was a change of the new project.
Because originally they did get reduced.
Yeah.
And the other one is with the Saddle Road, that would revert back to the 100 kilometres and not 60.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one there, given the accident rates that you have got currently, and it's 60 kilometres. I've seen no issues with it. 200. So
That's how the insurance.
yeah. So Brian and myself have a couple of meetings next week. I think we're going to be together. I'll raise that with them, but it's really as well.
In the short term for that, I believe they will be able to work back to a temporary speed restriction due to the time constraints.
Councillors, well, Dan and Andrew, do you have any questions on transport? I can follow right through that quite comprehensive report there.
Well, Chair, I can just check in on one more on customer requests. It's gave a percentage that were identified as not requiring any action. Do you notify residents that no action taken on those, or just on a request contact?
Through your chair, so if they ask for a response, then yes, we will let them know, but if they don't, then we.
That's just, I guess, just concerned because otherwise it looks like we've done nothing.
So yeah, if they don't require or don't ask for a callback, then that may still be the case, so it's just something to be mindful.
And through you, Chair Kerry, I did a CRM through Anteno 10 days ago and noticed that there is no ability to ask, but, so I still don't know. I mean, the issue has disappeared, but I don't know whether it came from my request or something else. There's no close off loop for Anteno, even though we promote it as being.
So I think when you first sign up, because I've had this problem, they keep contacting me back. So now, yeah, so I think when you first sign up, you must do something in the sign up. So now when I write in my complaint, I'll just put no contact needed, because they keep ringing me. And I felt really stink, and I think I wasn't ticking any boxes or anything.
The seasons then.
So maybe it's in the settings or when you actually do sign up. So maybe have a look in there. Yes, I haven't gone.
I'll run that test myself as well, see.
Yeah.
Or someone come and talk to me about it, and the issue I'll raise.
Oh, thank you. No, it's just, yeah.
Nothing else on transport or team? I'll just carry on. I'll go back to Hamish's for the front, but we on to Three Waters now, please. Anything else?
Should we tell off the response by the approach report after that?
Yes. So, if we just skip to the project sheets for your ones, Andrew?
Yeah, okay, right back into the last two pages.
47, 48.
You said, council, please just go to the transport runs, which is 47 and 48. Yeah. Which required for it. Who's one there? Sorry.
So yeah, we're quite on bridge. That's progressing at pace. It's we put it even relatively quickly. We've had a very tight deadline. We've given us bases. We gave ourselves pretty much an artificial deadline for Christmas as a nice to achieve. The lackeys have been working as fast as they can to get that, to achieve that. They did meet a few delays in regards to establishing a crane pad. You take the photos nicely on, you'll see on the back, there's a very large crane that actually needs to be very, very stable. The original intent was to have two cranes to on either side of the river to lift it, but when they found out the work to get the crane across the river, we pulled back from it and they got a bigger crane and essentially to do one lift from the that side. So that, but yeah, so there was a bit of delays in that, which has pushed us with a week behind in the program work, which is then now starting us to butt us up right against the Christmas period. That starting the next couple of days, please. But positive news is the beams are now across the river. They're in place, getting secure, so there will be eventually a deck on the bridge, although not open by Christmas. Essentially, yeah, that's going to
And
go.
around the happy Christmas dinner.
Yes, we go from health safety. Yeah, so that's progressing well. The Wimbledon, the Bridge 2 upgrade, so that came to an end essentially at the end of the project itself came to an end at the end of November. There was a few little runovers in terms of just putting out the signage of its pieces, given we've still got a few other things going on the site. We did, there is one more emergency website that we're progressing near the Kelvin Grove airstrip. That is, we've made a bit of progress in that October to undercut the road, 9 metres deep and rebuild it. Quite a significant undertaking. We're going to let that settle for a while, given the amount of aggregate that's been put back into it. So it will settle over time. also got reseals happening there, so we took the opportunity to tie the project reseals in with the wider site and cover off a few more things, so that's run into December, but I need to take most of Jack and got it in by Christmas, and we are adding another one with rehabilitation to the Calvin Road Airstrip site, just tied it right on last, because that's the last bit, it's a little bit mucky, we're not part of the project, it's being extended on, but come February, we'll be able to walk away from that site completely. Well done. I'm not bald. Stated that I would be bald by the end of the project. I don't look at the next one yet, but I think, yeah, no, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's been a long burn, that one. But it's gone to project meeting that starts at few tight out pieces of follow, but congratulations.
That's all we need for road in, but just before we get on to anything else, Stan and Andrews from our team here, thanks for a great and busy year. But personally, I think we have developed a really good relation and a good standard of your reports. The last report was in November, really didn't get any concerns or questions from the council, so thanks Hamish and you, both of you for that. So, go and have a good Christmas and hopefully the weather stays fine for your skeleton crew.
Thank you.
Extra house place. Just pop onto the three orders and we'll leave the last. So we go to paragraph 5, 3 waters. Hot seat there. Chris, good afternoon. You do know all the councils, Chris, don't you? You know how to comply. So welcome, all in your hands. So, the report's been circulated and read, but we'll just leave it to you to add anything on it. Questions after that, sure.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, I've just gone into the sequence a little bit into it now. It's about the second week, so we've been working through a lot of this with the team, and there's a few other bits that can add to it, so I'll give a bit of an update anyway to the water shortages committee meeting that we had the other day, and some plans for Kitio and some of the other parts of the district, but I can jump onto that unless there's anything. I just wanted to ask if there's anything that you'd like to say to the report.
No, that's all good, thanks.
Cool. So, yeah, the first meeting for that occurred yesterday, and we've gone through a number of ideas for how we can manage it, especially for Kitio. And essentially, we're looking at, well, we're exploring options of putting out another water tank out there, putting it on site, and then having the tank go out and fill it up, because we know that we will likely run out of water. So, sort of, we're trying to run over it anyway, just make sure that we have the area identified and how it will actually all run and everything else. So we're just going to work through that today. Yeah, on top of that, we're also looking at the upgrade to, well, the replacement of those concrete tanks that are out there, and just been doing some optioneering as well around treatment solutions and whether or not we look at raw water storage as well for the site. I just got off the phone with Hugh Ramsden out there as well, so we've got a meeting on Monday. I'm taking out one of the operators as well as our engineers to have a look at the sites and then at the leak issues that we also have with some of the pipe works, which will be part of the remedial work. So that's already underway there. Currently as well, that's at a total outdoor ban. The communications team have already been messaging. The first stage was from 1st November to 1st December. We've done a bunch of different pieces, I'm sure you're aware, but of like half-page adverts, Jet-Mated adverts and radio and trade band stuff. You can see here all mobile phones and signage and Danbury. We're just having some of that team go around and check all the signs that we've got up around the district as well. And that we're currently tracking no other restrictions on our other main towns. So if I've missed anything, Hamish.
You know, we certainly started to ramp up the comms, so starting to want the community to increase pressure on the suppliers.
Should we ask questions as we go? We can do that.
Yes.
So Councillor Sharon.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Hero. I have a couple around the Akatio. So let me just clarify, there'll be an extra tanker out there for drinking water over the period of time.
Yes, it's all
Okay.
really looking these.
Now, that meeting you scheduled with Hugh Ramsden, fantastic, has been a great batch, the chair of the Ratepayers Association being included in that.
Oh, I've just got off the phone with you, genuinely, like maybe about a couple of hours ago.
Okay,
So, yeah, not at this stage.
at this stage, I would encourage him being in the loop because, yeah, he's really important to that discussion. Just a couple of questions. So you've identified that the tanks are leaking and there is going to be a replacement in this current financial year because I was under the understanding there wasn't anything in the budget. Fantastic. I really appreciate understanding how that system can cope with the volume. It's clear it's designed for 12 or 13 permanent residents, not the 500 that. So I think that's a really important explanation that I'm pretty sure Tracy and I'll be able to go through at the meeting. The last bullet point in that chunk of issues that you'd identified quite clearly, the requirement that has always been in our bylaw for everyone to have a tank. Now, I really struggle with how we turn that around. And so the question for me is, what can we do to enforce the non-enforcement of something we should have enforced? Well, I don't know how we do that.
Yeah, no, just, I mean, I've just been looking through the whole insurance guide, so we're just
Yeah.
looking at how we actually go about it, so, just putting, a couple of statements to it, so, safety out to it as well, so. Just gotta work through the compliance kind of it, so.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, we wouldn't have this scenario of, and I mean, I appreciate what you said the other day, Hamish, that there's 57 connections and we would have hoped there were 57 tanks, but that's not the reality. And the tanks are the buffer, that's the one that builds in the resilience out there. And, you know, I mean, we're a good example, we've got our own tank. If the water gets cut off, like I was talking to Derek, you know, there was an issue with, you can turn it off, and if people have got their tank, it doesn't matter for 3 or 4 days. So, you know, we've created a monster there because we haven't done the compliance part. So I'm really keen to ensure that into the future we do come up with a plan of how we're going to address that non-compliance, because that Akatio would even feature in the management report after that.
Thanks, Sharon. Councillor Peter, Councillor Scott, Councillor Mike, Councillor Ellie.
Probably get asked before you get
Thank you, Kerry. Mike, the water restrictions for the towns, I know traditionally in about December, we've tended to go on to once every second day watering in order to ensure we don't have to cut things suddenly when it gets very dry. February, total ban on watering gardens and the like. Are you reckoning on a normal summer rainfall and take? Or?
No, not for us, okay.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, whatever you do, get in early and make it once every second day, rather than suddenly think, oh God, we're running out of water, we can't take the Manga Papa or the other rivers, and have a ban on water, because you'll really annoy them.
Yeah, I mean, so we will be monitoring the river flows in the department period, going over the Christmas period as well. So we've got a number of people on call, management officer, duty bonus, so I was on call. So then we will be meeting regularly, and the efforts we've got to the team. So we will be watching.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, it current our storage capacity is pretty much full. So any restrictions now would literally just be to drain the public. And we have also noted that when we've got restrictions, there's been zero change in consumption of demand. So yeah,
Just
there's no benefit other than getting public used to the idea of going in at this stage.
I think the public are used to if you, the comms go out, they understand that, and they should certainly rather have, you know, every second day watering than the option of just total bags. Put in when suddenly you realise that we've only got half a dam left and we can't take from the rivers. So
At this stage, we're able to maintain our storage folders, so until the weather changes. start going backwards.
Councillor Scott.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Just staying on Actio just for a moment. Councillor Ward's touched on a little bit about the bylaw requirement to have an extra tank. I think I remember us talking about this early last year about a plan that was going to be put in place to write to residents of Actio, making sure that everyone was aware of their obligations. And part of that was, one, to try and build that resilience, and but secondly, if we had a similar situation occur as we did last Christmas, that people were aware that some of that responsibility was theirs because they needed to have that resilience in place. I just wanted to see, and knowing that you're quite new into role, but whether that had happened or not. Was that plan implemented where the letters and the requirements were sent out?
For me right now, I can't say for certain. I've definitely definitely something right now. And again, as I was saying, we've a couple of people towards actually getting into exactly that stuff. So
Yeah, through you, Chair, I'm on the same topic, and I would just be talking about the minimum size tank also, so that for me, the right size tank, and it would last a month or two. And that's just that whole period, or driving in the period of January, December, January. That was, for me, it should be a minimum size. And the other thing is, the question is, has anybody looked at, for the summer months, increasing the level of the impounded dam in Dannyburg, bringing it up a metre, because we're on a restricted size here? And was there a period of time where we could bring it up a metre or 2 metres just for the summer period?
I haven't looked into that at this stage. I've got some raised definitely. Sorry.
So currently we're operating at the 8 metres, which is through the place in terms of where what levels we can take impounded supply or their recommended levels. There is the ability to move it up to say 9 metres, and I know that very bit of risk, extra risk as a result of that. And I'll need to go and check, but I'm sure we might have done that prior to last Christmas. We moved it up that 9 metre, but as long as we've still got that on the trend that continues to occur, it should be okay. What I'll check on, and what Hamish will check on, is that I think we did ask Tonkin and Taylor last year what their thoughts were around it. So there's some advice to which level we can take it. So I think it might be just a matter of revisiting that advice and that, just knowing that in terms of checking that out.
Can I ask supplementary to that? How many days extra water would that 1 metre increase be?
Peter will come.
Oh, thank you, Chair Kerry. Just in addition to Actio, I'm curious to know how many properties haven't followed that request to put the tanks in. Do you know the number that haven't got them? Would you say it was quite a few? Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about is, you know, if we don't enforce it, then they're just going to keep going. Well, I can probably contribute a little bit if Chair Kerry allows that. I think in recent times, when consents have been granted, there has been the requirement. What the challenge will be in turning the enforcement around is that many of those buildings and sections will be fairly limited in what size tank they can actually physically fit on their site. So it is a journey that obviously Mike and Jim are going to have to lead us through in terms of education. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy one to resolve. But given that there won't be much more building going on out there, it's about historically addressing it rather than future proofing where we might go in the future. Would that be fair from your understanding, Mike?
Yeah.
Thanks,
So-
thanks, Sharon.
Certainly the first steps will be to get the letter out to
Yeah.
people in that scenarios and elsewhere as well. Just so that everybody's getting the same messaging, and then we'll let them know to start looking. And we certainly had the intention to get it, but it wasn't assets of the table prioritised backwards, which is always the trail. Then just to answer your question about the supply, it's 2 days extra for that, and it's good meter. So we have to weigh that up against the risk. We've changed to the team and look through what their advice was last year.
11,000 cubes. 11,000 cubes.
Just irrespective of the leakage and lack of tanks with Agatea, the sobering thing is, H's report, is the amount that can take averaging 3 people a day. And peak time is between 300 and 400 people on a day, aren't you, Sharon?
Yep.
Go there and instead of 3 people per household, getting a dozen, a lot of children. So the system just isn't able to cope with the summertime peak. Really is. And that's going to have to be the rate players in the system and a visit.
We do have an obligation under the regulations to supply water to all that are there. So it's getting the tank out there, which we will have to refill a couple of times during that period. So yeah, Mike's going to be organising all that. Hopefully, so it's done before.
Encourage people to take a soap, piece of soap into the sea. That's what I do. I'm going to pass here away.
Might be nice, that's not good.
Perhaps I just ask a question while we're here. At the Three Waters, someone just brought it up a minute ago, but at our Three Waters meeting last Friday, and I was surprised, Marcus made the comment, that irrespective of restrictions, they have no effect whatsoever on the use of water, whatsoever. Surprised me. So what the thought that crossed my mind, why does when the towns go on to no water or low water, are the extraordinary users? Is there a reflection of the use? But that did, I don't really want to make too problem, but that did surprise basically. I don't know whether you have a comment or.
No, it actually surprised me a little bit too, about what could be the cause of that. It could, given the losses in our networks that we're working through at the moment around leakages and then the extraordinary users, it could well be that there is some, but it's so small in the scheme of the entire water use in that network, including your non-revenue water of leaks and extraordinary uses of things, that it just becomes almost undetectable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's interesting hearing what Councillor Johns was talking about in your explanation, and surprised me somewhat as well. If that is the case, if water restrictions, if we know that they aren't making any material difference, why on earth are we putting them on? Like in the past, like if we know that they have, why? We did it last year.
Well, thanks. We better discuss this before we do it.
I think that through the chair, a big part of this is actually come to any forced restrictions. So as we work through the process, and even maybe as what Councillor John said, we go out now, even though our waters are sort of educating them and getting them used to it. So then we don't go from 0 to hero type situation. So we go through the process, maybe a step behind. So if we then go, right now, there's a total ban and we'll have people patrolling the streets and looking at enforcement, people go, this came out of the blue. We can actually say, we actually haven't listened, we've put some restrictions in place, shared some education, we've done all this stuff, and no one's listening. So then it becomes an enforceable approach to it. So, and what we tend to find, in my experience, neighbours will start telling our neighbours that one neighbour will go, I'm adhering to it, but my neighbour's not. So you start getting people calling other people out. But I think that the main reason is to have that sort of escalated, gradual sort of approach to it. So when all of a sudden we're on the most extreme restriction, can't say what. I know it might sound like a bit waste of time, but the experience over the years and the sort of feedback we've got is that the worst thing you can do is go from no restriction to quite restrictive restrictions.
I agree with that. That's why I suggest get them in early, on every second day. But if it's not making any difference, but I find that hard to believe because the people I know are generally very good about it because they don't want to be in a situation where they cannot.
It almost seems almost like the chair was saying that people will reduce, but then other people come in and sort of get that people will reduce, or certain other people continue using more. So we've had a case where people pulled up their tools during summer, and where others stop their use. So it's that sort of trade-off.
Or you water it for twice, you garden for twice as long.
As far as Danny, we did get really, really low in the pound supply, didn't we? We got the stage we hardly had any days of it. It didn't sound a bit unusual comment.
Yeah, just interesting. You must have quantified.
I guess just in response to that, what we did notice, and like I was surprised as well, because I know people that have gone through extreme hardship, and not all through Vegetarian and lost funds to find out that it made a difference. But the question that I asked is, in the extraordinary usage, when you've got animals, feed on your line, actually their demand increases during those dry periods quite a bit. So there is that balance of consideration as well. But I guess I was hoping to go through with the water and sort of, we had a meeting yesterday. What does that look like on a town by town basis? So I understand that the Woodville is obviously full, but the Makapapa, we would be on reduced water take. I know some of the rivers are low, the Tamaki's dropping, and the Makapapa's dropping. So is what we're putting in the reservoir batching what we're taking out, or when do we start actually those reservoirs? And I guess the one, for Woodville, which is a very harsh consent, that river drops, but also with the Tamaki, if we increase an extra metre, that's only another 2 days if we get to supply the town. But how many days use have we got in that reservoir if things go very dry? With these dry winds, taking
So a number of parts here, I suppose, to answer to. Potentially, I can at least say a couple of pieces here. So for Woodville, we do regularly pull back on the impound supply. However, one of the pieces to note, I suppose, was actually doing the leak testing and the fixes that they just did there. So we're at about 8% reduction in water loss there. So it's actually come out quite well. So it's stabilised there a little bit. It definitely is a tricky one for Woodville in particular due to those consent takes. But one thing as well that our operations team legal really wanted to put across as well was just while that we might be at that consented water take from the rivers, the turbidity is the issue. So even if it does rain heavily, those water to them will actually not be able to do as much. So it's definitely a balancing act. I can't tell you exactly how many days sort of in each one of them at this stage. Chris might be able to jump on some of them. But yeah, like going through it with all of the team, apparently happy with the current state of it. So,
Yeah, I guess what's worrying me is in about a week's time, everything starts shutting down. And it's how quick that team can respond to those changes and get that messaging out. So that's what was worrying me, considering we have heavy rain. It is getting dry. We've got the power supply that is running at a lower level. And we have seen, yeah, we have seen what that does through the getting dry before.
We just keep a close eye on things and.
Yeah.
no, we definitely,
As we go.
especially for that style. Definitely what sort of main one. I guess we do have a ball that's there, but it's
Just a head one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I think, hearing feedback on what the others actually do a bit of an analysis, and I think across our supplies for the view at where those trigger levels are to say whatever at this level, or even now in anticipation we might go, let's go on the bottom level in terms of there's words for it, but it might be a watch or whatever it is. With a view that the next trigger is, and we do have this, the next trigger is this and that, and we can probably share that around a bit as well, and keep an eye on it. And I don't know how maybe someone can have a look at it with the prediction around the weather and stuff, and look like, you know, we might be able to do analysis and looking at things, but hey, put his mind over it, say, could we get another 3 weeks dry weather? What is the impact? So we can look at that. I mean, that estimates, this is something to
Yeah, you had to do that all through the
Period.
on a daily basis.
Thanks very much. Just carry on through the water report there, so. Leak, hopefully I just got through those, but actually to your leak detection management, it's good to see. Those over. Go on to water metering. Should be interesting to again. That's moving along. Any other questions, councillors, about anything water while we're, so Scott?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just looking at 5.2 waste, so knowing that we are doing a fair bit of work at the moment, and Eki, that there's some work in Aotearoa, Woodville. Just wondering whether a comment I wrote down is, would it be sensible to be holding off some of the works that we're doing until we get the new central government standards coming?
Yeah, I can probably answer that. So the works that we're doing at the moment are giving effect to current consents, and it is very unlikely that the new national standards would be a reduction from what those current consents are. So I would say that the work we're doing at the moment is not at risk. What we've discussed in the team is that we've got a number of consents to expire in the next 5 years, and we were just beginning the process of planning out what treatment plant upgrades would look like. We had put a hold on that work until Q2 next year. We're expecting the new standards to come out in March. So it's the latest information I've got is that mid-March we'll have the standards on our desk. We'll be in a situation that we can start evaluating what the future, because there's some fundamental decisions to make, like dam wastewater discharge as an example. So current work, no issue there. Future work, we are pressing pause.
Any other questions, councillors, with freshwater, wastewater? Right. Everybody happy still up? We will move on to solid waste. Thanks, Raj, Chris.
Right, so Joe, her apologies. She's a operating fully today, so I think her part of the report is read. So she has had some challenges around the line marking. And, it was interesting to meet how set people's habits were, and they can adapt to that. And but she has done quite well and start standing around.
looking at your car.
I think once the signage goes up to match it, that'll help things, but maybe. So. Any questions?
Thanks, Chair. I've got two quick questions, if that's okay. First, and we had some discussion about this yesterday. We did our site visit about the transfer station. And I've written this note before we went up there, but I think it's still. I am concerned that we don't have operating cameras working at there at the moment. I know that cameras have been put in place, but my understanding is at the moment they're not operating. Is there a plan to be back operating ASAP?
So we have a project in the office now. That's like the poles are in place.
Yeah.
As it is from the one that had going on it, that's because that's been put in recently. Cameras are due to go up shortly with solar panels and things, so they can be self-sufficient units that just.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And then just my second question. Okay, Mr. Chair, looking at curbside recycling, just the note that our first load is heading to Plymouth rather than send it to us. Anymore. Are there any significant cost changes resulting? I know we don't have a choice, but.
It's a logistical business is what I've come to understand. This the whole waste side of things, and so moving material around the countryside, places. So the cost of transport, the cost that we pay over the gate. So, for example, the cost over the gate and another move with less of the transport cost works out about the same as sending it up to Plymouth. So. That's sort of where we landed. In this region, we have Masterton, we have Wellington, I think there's one down there, very small one in Fielding, obviously, and so Plymouth is the one that works out okay for us. Over the gate is to offset the cost there, and we're working on a backload to offset some of that transport cost. So there's things in place. So
yeah, it was more just trying to budget implications. That's good news.
Yeah. Thanks. Councillor Ken, we go.
Thanks, Secretary. This New Plymouth Material Recovery Facility, what was sent up with that?
So all our mixed recycling, so that your plastics are basically going up there. And they get some up in that plant and put into bales and sent away for recycling. So each of these facilities do an audit as loads come in. So this particular group is quite structured with it. So they're able to actually give us stats on how we're doing. It's good because our guys will sort through it first a little bit. So they go through, pick out any rubbish. Once it comes out of the truck, it goes up to.
It's a long way to go, isn't it?
Yep. So Palmerston North Council are looking at upgrading their facility to be able to take more capacity and support the region. We've given them a little heads up that we'd be looking for somewhere a little bit closer to home, so they can accommodate us. That's available. Yeah, a little investment that they're doing the next few years.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks. Solid waste questions, Councillor? Thanks very much for that.
Just like to congratulate you on the Arabic. It's a very nice Arabic.
Just before we move on, just for, number 3, your opening comments?
I did put a little spiel in there about our year to date. I think the 12 months that I've sort of been involved, I've seen the teams consolidate what they're doing and implement some periods are struggling through some interesting challenges. So it's just a little nod to them. So thank you. It's been a big calendar year. So yeah, just want to thank you.
I think we probably could clear around the table too, that we've seen a huge shift in the structure. We had the team working well, our planning's going good. We still struggle with we still have a lack of money and a lack of things, but at least we know what we've got and we haven't got. And we're planning now, not reacting all the time, which we do in the UK. Just to lead. You and the team and the Alliance boys have? All right, Cyclone Gabriel recovery. So I guess Brian, that's your turn on that.
Resolution.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Billy. Yes, if we could have a mover in the second. Councillor White and Councillor Over. Thanks, Gareth. Thanks, Councillor. What's your speedy, Ellie?
Just through the chair, so that sort of no secret that the recovery team is sort of on a wind down mode. It's pretty much our project focus. So with the exception of the rural support trust, which is James still rolling out all that work, which is involved in a couple of projects, but Mitch is moving on next year into a new role around procurement. We won't be backfilling that role, but he will continue to do a couple of projects that he's working on. Sarah is still working on with the community type projects with the funding that we've still got left. But the big thing that the team will move into next year is around the transitioning plan. So transitioning out of recovery, there is quite a lot of reporting that we have to do around that. It is a formal legal process with a view that and it might even be earlier depending on how we go, but at this stage, so as you can probably see with the report, it's basically just a project focus that they are doing, and obviously we've got the Brad Olsen talking with us next week in terms of that economic report, which I'm certainly looking forward to and getting that feedback in terms of, I guess, the state of the economy, largely due to Gabriel, but obviously there are other impacts as well. And we're taking questions.
Councillor Sharon.
Through you, Chief Kerry, I just want the word recovery to go away, but I understand that, the money is there. There's a project into that in here, that food distribution hub.
So me, Tracy might be able to help you out with this one, but effectively it is a project where we are looking at setting up a distribution centre within the district, which is currently working with some of the key partners around this. Also been a discussion with the Salvation Army in terms of what works and what doesn't work and things to look out for. Still in the early stages of the planning, but effectively we something that through this funding will set up and almost spring on and walk away type a function where it will be other partners can continue to take over that sort of management. Tracy, to jump in there.
So there was one pool of funding that managed to stay with the new states. So we got a show that was meant to be around a food project, which was identifying cycling and some of the challenges. So MSD have come across, they met with myself, Reap, Iwi, Waipo, mainly the group that had already taken part in the food security plan. Just had to talk about what the funding could and what the funding could do. So it can't do any staff cover any of those costs. But what it can do, one of the challenges that's been highlighted through all the groups is that we have no place that the national companies can put food. So within food banks, they can only accept national food, like from the likes of Maltese and all of those. It comes in pallets, you've got to be able to accept that. So we can't access that, they can access that in parcels. So what the local groups have found is that getting food from the likes of parcels is getting more difficult. But if we have one of these registered hubs, they are able to deliver the food here. So Richard's formed a plan. They haven't had a second meeting to run that past anyone approval from the state, but in principle they agreed that that was a challenge, but it has to be run by the community. There's no further funding from anybody in regards to this project. So Mitch was going across to meet with Salvation Army and have a look at how these run. So there's been no money spent at this stage, it's just having a look at initial stages. So the LNG mate and I've asked the others, it's getting very challenging to get people together, and I've asked them if we could just have a follow-up meeting to see what they can do with. So the EDF from today, we're going to kind of what kind of hours and things that they had. It doesn't align quite with the food securities plan because they identified having a coordinator. There is no coordinator for this. But the one thing that is clearly said is that it can't be the sole source of food either, it has to have other things going on. So it's a very early stage project.
Well, no, just through you, Chair Kerry, and thanks for the explanation, you Tracy, but I've just got a great big, is this council's role? Because this is a very hot topic when it comes to the risks and the issues that you're going to have with food sitting there. It's, if someone or some organisation isn't responsible for monitoring that, I mean, I guess I'll reflect on what we as a council managed to do through the emergency management planning during, lockdown. There were alternative ways of accessing food and supporting those. I'm concerned we have a securities plan. We have iwi that have got really good at getting food from anywhere and everywhere to make sure the community is well. My biggest concern here is honestly, is this council's role?
So that's why the funding, only the funding is through council. My understanding from talking with the iwi groups is they've had a lot of what they had access to, and it has changed since that point. So and they can't get it. But have to share that. Nothing has to be done. And I guess if that's a choice of council, we would only have to ask MSD to transfer that funding across, but I don't think that there would be a possibility that would need to be returned. So if it's something that council don't want to do, I just think that the funding is quite wide. It does cover, all of that storage and bits. But look, that's what Mitch has been tasked to investigate. If I just say nothing's over the line.
I'm too sure.
Councillor Scott.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. I certainly have some sympathy for what Councillor Lawrence was saying. However, this is a space that has some, not a project at all, but more widely, I've had some involvement in the food security space from a charity that set up some time ago. So I absolutely do understand the limitations that we have, particularly in the district. But actually the limitations that are now coming on, Tracy mentioned about some of the providers like Search and others in Palmerston North being under much higher levels of constraints with usage from within Palmerston North, that they are really struggling to get food into the wider regions like they have done in the past, with availed themselves of that in our group. And we actually, we don't at all. So it's just not available. Now, absolutely, I'm all about making sure we're looking at our core. Recovery is slightly different. I would have no problem if there was funding that could get transferred and we let someone else, I won't conclude myself with saying who, but you know, other groups, there's a number of them within our districts jumping in to do it. If that isn't the case, and if we can facilitate something like this happening and then walk away from it, then I think we at least need to understand what that could look like. We can't just take away without understanding the opportunity, because literally there are people within our district that it is happening. I see it in some of the work. So literally, it's not our role to solve it, if we have a way to facilitate some change. My question though, through you, Mr. Chair, Tracy may answer, how much funding has been? Somebody missed it.
So it's a separate existing fund.
Yeah.
It's for the chair. I think it's at 100 and.
96,000.
Okay. So around the
Yeah.
100, it's a significant sum. But before I went in and said, I don't think we should do anything. What the groups could do with it. Personally, I think it really is.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Councillor Ward's comments. I don't think it's a council thing. If we're talking about a Gabrielle or something like that, there's a supermarket called New World in David, for instance, and a Partur that's got lots of food. It's a question of money. Who pays to just take whatever's needed to wear? You don't need another building full of cans of peas or buffet. I don't believe. Are we not better to organise something that along those lines, that it could be a person or people that have the money to get the food delivered to the need, without getting into the infrastructure of it. How big a problem is it really?
Mr. Chair, could I just
Okay, councillor Mike is.
Thank you. So with that funding, is that to pay for the storage of all the food? You've already said that there cannot be a lead that organises all that, so potentially Mitchell is being paid from council resources, recovery funding.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's kind of free, or it's not ever expensive. Because I hear Councillor Wards, but I also hear Councillor Gilmore, we should give it a bit of a look, as long as it's not costing us any money, not our repairs, not in employment and stuff like that, not in trying to find another building to store this food. Yeah, let's just have a look, and then hopefully Mitch will find in this Salvation Army or someone who will come in. Like a community group will take on that.
That's good enough.
Thanks, Joe. I don't want us to be confused from what I understand the project is. I don't think that you're suggesting that council sets up. Even sets it up. From my understanding, is Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, this is really about council facilitating the process that if council didn't facilitate, at least $96,000 that could go into food resilience for our communities. It's not about us doing it, it's about facilitating the process. I run my own charity. I'm actually involved in another one that works in the food space in this district. I have no doubt that we have a serious problem within our district when it comes to food security. because I see it. It might not be something that everyone sees, but I see reports of it. I see it involved with groups that are trying to do something about it. There is a real problem. And I think that if there is an opportunity for this money, I don't want these groups to lose out. And look, they might turn around and they might not be able to do it. When the money's lost, that's fine, but I would be so hesitant in us just saying that's not cool, even though it's not costing us anything, we just shouldn't do it because in our communities.
Mike, Councillor Mike, you're retracing last. Councillor Mike.
Thank you. It's $96,000. I think we should use it or look at the feasibility of it, looking at what we could do with that to facilitate disadvantaged people than themselves. I say if we have to buy a forklift, find an empty building, somebody else manage it, volunteer work. So correctly, you saying that this area will miss out on food if it can't be unloaded with a forklift.
If we don't have a food system.
Yeah.
There are some requirements that really must meet a certain standards that come under the operator as a food distribution.
Like freezers and things like
Can
that.
I just clarify, it's only in terms of a crisis though? This isn't for long-term sustainable ongoing backup.
So part of it is around, part of it is around resilience, but if you don't have it set up for, and I guess that was where the two could potentially work together. We don't know that will, and we don't know that will mainly the state requirements, but in an emergency, you couldn't get that food in. One of the first conversations I had, because we do have a trust with the Salvation Army when I met with their head, I don't like the duplication of services. So the first question I asked was, what was the potential for the Salvation Army and Palestinian to share with the Tauranga district and have one section that could be, assigned to us? The answer came back very clearly no. So, but in saying that, the systems and that they use are obviously very good. So it is very much a thing, but one of the things that we're talking to the other organisations is that because Mitch is funded through recovery, this is a recovery project, it's the only time that we'll be able to get that opportunity to investigate what might happen. There was some concerning groups because the food security thing, addressed it.
Well, to complete this discussion, shall we? Mitch is not getting costing us anything. Let him come up with a plan. Personally, this is, I'm surprised at this. I see TV every few days and I've heard banks closing down, threatening to close down in New Zealand. We're about opening up one, so this is a surprise. However, so we let it run its course.
Just to clarify, it's not a food bank, they operate the food banks, it is a central point.
Distributed.
It's just a central point that the food comes to. So that you get it from those larger organisations and take the pressure off. But at a bit of time, understand just how much funding each of those organisations is lost in excess. A lot.
So is the food gifted by these organisations?
Correct.
So the 93 is used to set it up.
Correct.
So like finding the storage room, finding the
Operates just the whole bit. And it would come back to council with the go get it's going to be approved by these. So they had one meeting to discuss it and it just wasn't.
And obviously they would face the challenges that every other food bankers in New Zealand. So got to build an important framework.
Well, Mr. Chair, I suppose this is the difference with this is we do not have the ability for large scale donations anywhere within the district currently. So it's something that's just not even on the table every other area gets the share. So it's the companies, the qualities and other ones, sanitariums, another companies like they get a share. We can't get our share. Historically, we have flipped our share from pumps to north. So they've had their distribution centres that would run vans over, that goes up. That has now limited because of the challenges. that we've talked about. So we're just saying to these big companies, give us your share directly, please, so we can get into our system. So that's my understanding.
We agree to let Mitch come back to us through Brian. So you happy with that? Last words. Okay, thank you very much, councillors. Anything else, Brian, or Cyclone?
No, just had to take further questions.
I'd make one closing comment through you, Chair Kerry. I'm not surprised around the comments about the surveys of farmers. Farmers just don't want to talk about recovery anymore and they don't want another survey to complete. That's why I get on with it.
Right now. Right, councillors, that's, we have a move on the second for 7.2. Councillor Mike, Councillor Peter, all in favour? Thanks very much. We'll move on to Whiteley Capital Portfolio. This is what Mike's sitting down there.
Depends on the weather and whether you declare the more water line take, which is about so about 5.4 was 5.
So
I'm not sort of
but the average for the last week was 2,300. Well, that was 3,900.
So days, we need to go off the supply number of days. Water storage that we've got, usable, accessible, and well. 12 days.
That's actually chop all the supply water off.
Right. Yep. Thanks. So quickly look at, so at low flows, we can take 4,600 cubic metres. Yeah. The past 4 weeks, the average has been 4,300, which is less than the low flow target. So that's why we're not panicking at this stage, because that area is using less than the low flow amount.
And what, how many drops, so that the consent comes.
So that,
once it gets to certain level, we not at the lowest level.
no, so we're still at the high of it, still take the bottom out, but we don't need to, because it's at the level here, and the consumptions are lower than we can produce. So at the moment, it's currently sustained.
And you get a report of those, the consumption on a regular basis, so that you can analyse that.
Yes, yeah, Marcus is watching it every day. He's got the graphs up in front of him in the office. He's watching it, that's very closely.
Usually what happens when there's a turbid event that might be turbid for 5 days, roughly. So you might reduce your take right down, bleed your water into the reservoir, so you're still taking a percentage of water. But it's at the level that the current line can manage. It's very rare for you to close your operations down or weeks. But in summer, the take lifts. Yeah, that's the implication.
Peter, Mike, capital portfolio report, all yours, thank you.
Thank you. Hello again.
Sorry for slight interruption.
Yes, I mean, like just the summary over the first weeks anyway, and then I think we come to highlight those reviews and project updates and senior stock and then stick with the sheets again as well. Currently, all the stuff research projects moving through. We've got on for Stella, who's an project manager, she's taken over as well, so we're working through those. We have been working with the data supply and one, so I'm happy to get into that. But apparently, I'm not making any changes over
some of the works for Woodville reservoirs. And yeah, so resource here at the moment is now looking at operational requirements as well as we're getting into the summer periods, you know, our operators and want to be involved, you know, also going through a lot of work at their own current rates. So I'm going to make sure that all these things keep going though, as where we're at. So yeah. Stick with them individually unless there's any other questions for them. Other than that, I'm trying to portfolio itself is so important.
If we just quickly look at sheets. Pages 36, 37 and.
Oh, yeah, sorry, but I was happy to step through from 7, stop on page 30.
Oh, so just step through the page one. Okay. Shall we start at page 37? Page 38.
The Woodville been stuff and the rest of our work is ongoing. Yes, we've been into RFP for geotech investigations for the Woodville reservoir works. Design works ongoing. Concept design of Woodville plans. Dynamic component supply program is safety escalated program. Just finalising a few of the contracts. I know that was a land purchase and ongoing negotiations. One of the other parts that we've done is the pinhole repair that we were looking at in permanent markings. It's currently working through from the underwater and another January.
Can I ask, so what is the leak on the power supply right now?
I've just been very prominent, being able to say that one part that we're talking about, it's just that whole, so they just want to be doing the same as that they've done, that they would like to do.
Yeah.
Just working through the proposal at this stage.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's been leaking for years, so many litres per second. What would it be like now, please?
I can look that up. We actually get a daily update from the inspectors, and it doesn't change.
Thank you.
We've been tracking that, so it's stable. The other part there is the pre-treatment plant, just at the very bottom of that one as well. Just been working with the technical specifications of it and know that all of that there. And the turbines, I suppose, but we've just been exploring the options for a static installation. We've got a who that's after the name, some engineers around how it actually looks, but ideal situation is that we will have the process time down to a little bit of starts next year for construction works.
I've got an answer for you. So rather than being a leak, it's the leak coming out of the subsoil drains. So we get a high alert at 5.5, it's sitting at 2.6. So that's, and it's been standard, fairly standard for quite some time. It'll go up ever so slightly with a decent amount of rain. Gets into the subsoils as you probably expect to.
So really, my word of leak was incorrect. It's a seepage. Yes.
Mike, I just missed that, but you talk about the pre-treatment plant or the.
Yes, pre-treatment plant there. Goes into the same thing as well for essentially the treated reservoir. Essentially, for that one weekend, we'll sell it. We'll be using a project sheet on that one going forward as well. But that one there goes in hand and we've got in essentially a program works for our reservoir works over the long-term plan. So just go through that.
Okay, so it's page 39. Councillor Scott.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm going to ask on your behalf.
I'm going to try and beat Councillor Jones to in for a penny, in for a pound. It's my turn. We have an update on the district council.
I knew, I wanted to be first in the Swift status. I was going to
Just
What's the point then? We get this every month.
So, let me just demonstrate what Ray Ken is doing right now.
Welcome to our world.
So we met with NTA, reviewed sites, everything's tipped off in terms of the actual, what the signs in terms of the footings, which was the initial problem. That's been resolved. Now they're looking at the letter sizing. So there are rules around what size lettering needs to be on the sign, so they're visible, they're not distracted. In 100K zones, unfortunately, the sizing on our signs are just. So it's kind of getting to the point where. No, so some of the ones some of them are proposed to be put in the 100K zone. So it's kind of one of those things like, we might just keep banging our heads against the wall looking to shape because they literally.
I was just gonna say.
Just put them up, put them up.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Take the risk.
That's the.
We can't direct operational activity, we can't hold the torches at night while they're putting them up.
Steve's got a great idea.
Well, I've got a question. So there was safety reasons for the footing. You get that? Yeah. Are there any safety reasons for the letters?
So if it's a distraction.
You try to follow that.
I was ever to break a rule. This won't be high on the list.
That would be.
But I won't. And I need to work. And not in
So there are reasons for these rules.
Yeah.
They make sense to leave the time, but there are reasons.
So could I ask you a quick second, in all seriousness, it's finding it very hard to be serious, but I'll try. So that is the signs that are within the 100K zones. There's a number of them that, there's some that will not be within 100K zones. As a start, can they go? Ones that are not within 100K speed limit zone. If that's the issue for that, and then let's just get some wooden stickers and make some bigger lettering for the other ones. But can we just get those up? And my frustration is not directed towards.
I know.
Just to be clear, I'm not frustrated with you, Ray.
I'll follow up with Ray to see which of the urban ones can go up. I think it was almost like within what we were working on, it was like the amount of work we're putting into it, the amount of blowback, it was like, is the effort worth the effort?
And maybe
I understand what we're trying to do.
it's just getting to the point of being ridiculous, and maybe you are right. So I don't think the teams have to be spending that amount of time. That's symptomatic of some of the bureaucratic ridiculousness.
And when you get to that stage, you ignore it and just go.
Put it up. Maybe, actually, maybe let's have an offline discussion, because I do have a suggestion. We've got an operational staff that have to deal with it.
Interesting, may I say? The most distracting sign in the entire district is one sitting in the middle of the paddock getting it over.
Yeah.
About Bruce, I mean, it's ridiculous. Everybody goes.
I would be gutted if that was even moved.
That makes this thing, but it's the most
But it's-
distracting.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But is it
It's
tangible?
crucial.
It's a fragile, it's stupid.
Any further discussion next time, we won't close the meeting.
I apologise, Mr. Chair.
It could be some good ideas.
We could invite NTK to speak. Discuss.
It's gonna chance her on the toll road in my state. I really get that confirmation.
Bring them up.
Yeah.
Right, page 39, we'll over.
I think I just want my died.
Right, we'll go through your sheets, shall we? Oh, we will do that. We'll go sheet by sheet. Councillors, Three Waters Infrastructure, Inspect. We get over. Catahoula Wastewater. Over. Wahiatua Wastewater. District wastewater infiltration. Elementary SCADA grade.
Just on the, from I&I in Eki, how's it going? Do you have any success at all? That's what I'm asking.
It's still in the early monitoring stages, but I know that they have been identifying potential. What they've done is been looking at a whole catchment level, which catchments give which sub-catchments give us the most problem. And then the next stage is to then start targeting within that target sub-catchment. So they're just at that first stage. And that's the nature of it. And it's a bit of a grinding process to.
So they haven't started smoke testing or anything yet?
I believe they did last week. Yep.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Richard Skater. All headwork. Registered works for Pride on Bridge. We update the entry there. Some good photographs.
Sorry, Chair, Kerry, the Woodville headworks. That's indicated in readers over budget. Is there any estimation? Oh, okay, there is an estimate that how much more you're going to lose, but obviously there's some flex in that.
Oh, well, there's some of the ones that have been overutilized since stated budget for some of them. And there's also some unplanned budgets that we have for these upgrades, but with the Woodville wastewater program ongoing as well, we're looking at 1 year program works around the UGents, conduct a handover of that project as well. This partly with the current headworks and we're looking at trying to, there's a few different design considerations that we've got to go through. We want to essentially at this stage maintain that one there just for future resiliency.
So you're not asking for any more money, you'll just find it.
We'll give it a best shot before we go down that pathway.
That's a good one.
I think that the hard part is there's an overlap function in the program, so SCADA work, this is partly due to that, partly due to projects are underway, so it'll all come out of the wash.
Thanks. Action one.
I know it's kind of the end of the sheets as well, but just while we're on that one, Chair, if you could say as well, we'll walk through the IP tour sites yesterday. I've just had the opportunity as well while here just to say that I spoke to the operators who actually really happy with being able to do that quickly. So they're really happy to bring it along and sort of bring us up to speed on. They're very proud of this. They work really hard to get it done. Really happy with what you're doing. So.
Thanks for that feedback, Mike. I think it was appreciated from the councillors at the TD2 actually. So thank you. Thanks. Everyone being involved. Right, thanks. Any other general questions, councillors? Okay, we'll move them. Move in the seconder, councillor Nye. Yes. And councillor Scott, all in favour? Okay, carried. Thanks, council. So we shall close this meeting. Would you like to? Oh, yeah, it's not. Thanks. I won't put my fees back. Oh, sorry, Kenneth. The most important one. So we've got half an hour to wait